Hi, welcome back to the channel. And today I've got one of the people I've been following for quite some time, the fantastic Sarah, who is the Healthy Carnivore UK. Welcome.
Hi.
So, Sarah, people that don't know you, I will put a link to your channel on here, but can you give me the why?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your channel. I know that we've been talking about this for a while, so it's good to get it. Love your channel, by the way. I think you deserve so many more subscribers than you're having. So I really hope we can grow your channel. So my why, I mean, I have lots and lots of whys for finding carnivore, but I think my main one is to not turn out with the same health outcome that my mother did. For the people that have followed my channel for a while, we know that I'm following in the footsteps of a very, very sickly mother who had literally everything wrong with her. Right from when I was 13, there was something wrong with mum. And I believe that many of the things she had wrong with her were following the low fat, high carb advice at the time. And I think it destroyed her hormones. And I think that all the problems she had wrong with her were following that advice. And when I found carnivore, I realized that I might be able to avoid following in her footsteps. I mean, when I was 13, she had a hysterectomy and I had to take care of the house. And then she had a thyroidectomy, and then she had bladder surgery, then she had hip surgery, then she was planning the next hip surgery. And I think my biggest main why is because watching her go through all that was just terrifying. And when you discover the carnivore lifestyle and you realize that you might be able to avoid going through all that, it's just worth doing. I have other whys, but that's kind of my main one. I do talk about my mum a lot in the channel, how I don't want to turn out like her. So that's my main why. I mean, I can talk about other whys, but that's the main one that drives me on. I'll just quickly say that by the time my mum was my age, she already had loads of body parts missing. She's on loads of medication. And I'm sitting here with all my body parts intact on no medication. And I feel as though it's 10 years of eating very heavily meat based that's got me to this place. Over the last 10 years, I've probably eaten between 40 and 100% fatty meat every single day, and some stretches of all 100%. And I believe it's made me really healthy. So doing that,
That's
that's
good.
really it.
So obviously I'm quite aware of your story being a follower of your channel, but for those that are
Yeah.
not, so tell us a little bit about how you were before you discovered the carnivore. I know you've been carnivore much longer than me, but on and off, so we can
Well,
touch
more
on
on and
that.
off. More probably off than on at some points,
Yeah.
but I'll
So
tell you about my current stretch in a minute. But
what was it like for you before you discovered this lifestyle?
well, I was brought up with a low fat message. My mum always used to say to me, "What makes fat, Sarah? It's fat." And that's what everyone's believed for many decades now. She always used to say, "What makes fat? Fat." And so we were all low fat in our house. Not that my mum was particularly health conscious, mind you, but we did eat mostly, all the meat had the fat trimmed off. I grew up as a chubby child. I was fed heavily by my grandparents. They helped train me to be a comfort eater. And I did spend my whole childhood really being chubby. And then at 19, my father insisted I went on a diet. And so I did go on a diet, and that just started low fat, but I didn't have a lot of health problems. But I then fell into the arms of one of the UK slimming clubs after university. And they promised me that I could eat as much as I wanted and be slim. But sadly, as we've kind of worked out over the last few years, those low fat, high carb regimes just make people very sick, as it turns out. And then I found carnivore. I don't know whether you want me to talk about how I discovered it, because it's quite unique, I think, how I found it, really, because
Okay.
it
Yeah,
was at a
please.
time. It was at a time before. But yes, let's talk a little bit more about before. Just spent yo-yo dieting on and off, different diets all the time, low fat, high misery, just basically just and my hormones and my female hormone is just getting more and more and more and more trashed. I had gastritis, psoriasis. I wasn't sleeping. I was considerably overweight, as you can see from my previous
Yep,
picture
I
that you have of me on
can
file.
quickly search that up
And
if you wish.
yeah, so
Before and
I was
after.
I realized in that picture I looked very inflamed, and I think
You
that's
do,
why the
yeah.
very first I think that's the reason why the very first time I did carnivore, I lost so much weight in one go, because I clearly from that picture was carrying a lot of inflammation around in my body, which I didn't realize at the time. You always just think that you're just fat, but I think over time, we're realizing that, yes, we are carrying some fat, but also there's a lot of water weight hanging around in the body as well. And it's not till I look back at that photo that I can really see that. So the very first time I did carnivore back in, 2014, 10 years ago, I actually lost 35 pounds really quickly. And I think that was just all that water weight and stress, all the water weight leaving my body so quickly. I don't seem to carry so much inflammation around with me now as I did then. And so I don't get those big weight loss drops that I might have done then. But I found a carnivore back in 2014. I was just surfing around the internet trying to find something different to do. I was in a place where I could have gone any direction. It does scare me a little that I could have gone down the vegan route, because I was so open-minded in 2014, and I was so looking for a new way to live that I thought it does scare me that I could have got dragged down. I just found carnivore just out of luck, and I feel so blessed that I found the carnivore crew and not the plant-based crew. Thank goodness, because I would have ended up with more problems. And I was just on Twitter, and I happened to be following the husband of Amber O'Hearn, who's been in the carnivore space a long time. And he encouraged me to look into his wife's blog. Amber O'Hearn had a blog back then. I think she's been in the space now somewhere between 14, 15, up to 20 years, I think. And I was just amazed by her little website that she had, just talking about how she just ate fatty meat and how slim she was and how healthy she was and how she'd reversed some different health problems. And this was before YouTube. I don't even know how. I think something came out of me from, when Bill Knott talks about something just coming out of nowhere, some help coming out of nowhere, because the YouTube wasn't there. We didn't have the Jordan Peterson and the Sean Baker and all those talking about it constantly. And I just fell into it, and I was so open-minded, and everything just made so much sense, because I had a grandparent who was very, very heavy meat-based. She was married to a butcher. My granddad was a butcher. He had a very successful butcher business, and she ate a lot of fatty meat. And she was the healthiest human I've ever met over the age of 60. She lived to 93. She did end up having some health problems in the end, but up until 93, she was easily the healthiest older person I'd ever met. And I knew that she ate extreme amounts of butter, fatty meat. So her diet was probably 60 to 70% meat based for years. And following in her footsteps, when I found the carnivore community, I thought, that makes sense. My nan never took any medication for anything. She hated doctors and she loved her meat. And so it all just made sense. And so I just fell into the carnivore pit. But, my journey has been bumpy, though, ever since. But I do have a load of health benefits. But you let me know when you want to talk about those, if you've got any other questions first. I don't even know if I answered the previous question that you asked me. Actually, I just went off on one about my grandmother.
This
I always
is your
talk about her.
interview. This is your interview. We go the route that you take us down. So that's really interesting. You mentioned about the slimming clubs, let's call it.
Oh, yes.
I have actually experienced both, with moderate success in terms of weight loss, but was very unhappy in both. And after a while, I realized how commercial it is in terms of selling you product rather than actually helping your health. So when I saw
Definitely.
your Confessions of a Slimming
Ex-slimming consultant.
that was like the light bulb for me that, this girl's talking total sense. So thank you for that side of it. Interestingly enough, I saw a film called Forks Over Knives, bought the book and went vegan for 6 months.
Did you? Did you?
Yeah, and I thought at the time, I lost some weight, but my God, I have never been so hungry constantly in my life. My sleep was restless. It was wrong. And I literally went away from that to, well, apart from trying to impersonate Henry VIII in terms of the level of food I was eating, I then came into the tunnel. So it's interesting that you said about you could have slid one way or t'other. I did.
Yeah.
And as you said, regretted it. I've got no problem with vegans. I've got no problem with vegetarianism. It's not for me.
No. And talking about being hungry, I do have a work colleague who I found out recently was vegan. And the reason I found out is because it was a very hot summer's day and it was 2:30 in the afternoon and she just had lunch and she was starving. And I thought, well, I'm now suspicious of the way you eat, and I wouldn't mind betting you're plant-based.
Mhm.
And then a couple of hours later, she did admit that she was vegan, and I just thought, well, I had kind of worked that out by the fact that we're in the middle of a heat wave. You've just
Yeah,
had lunch. It's 2:30 p.m. and you are starving.
yeah.
And I know, and I've eaten all my meat and not starving. So, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's
it must be
it's
horrible. I've never done plant based. It sounds hideous. I've also done a
well,
video that says why I can't be vegan, but that's a really awful video. Don't go back and watch that. I'm going to rerun that soon. Why can't I be
okay.
vegan? Because my original one that I did, it was one of my very first videos, and it was pretty tragic. Actually, I'm going to rerun that. Why
The
I
the
personally
best
don't want to be vegan.
the best way I can describe it is you fill your head with this is doing good for me. That you
Hmm.
tell yourself this is doing good. So
Yeah,
you kind of program yourself.
yeah,
But in the end, and I've learned this, and I say this regularly on my a lot of the interviews I do, listen to your body because when you
mm,
start listening to
mm.
your body, you realize it's not the
It's
right
not
one. It
good.
wasn't the right one for
No.
me.
Yeah,
So, and your body tells you when you're hungry, your body tells you when
yeah,
you shouldn't eat, your body tells you when to sleep, and I believe your
yeah.
body is should be the dictator
Mm.
to your lifestyle.
Absolutely. And when this is what annoys me when people say, "Show me the science, show me the science." I've got a friend who can see the health benefits in me and has heard me talk about it, but she's refusing to do carnivore because there is not enough science behind it. So and I basically said to her, "So what do you want me to do? Just wait until the science comes out? I feel incredible doing this. Do you really want me to wait for the science to come out before I start?" Well, I didn't say, "Are you crazy?" But inside my head, I was thinking that does sound like crazy logic to me. When I do carnivore, my body literally sings. It feels perfect, and I've got all these health benefits to back it up. But you want me to stop because there's no science? It drives me crazy when people say
And the
that.
science we have is flawed and has been
Yeah.
proved to be
Oh
flawed.
gosh. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And people just can't get their head around the fact that we've been lied to all this time. Because people, if people did get their head around that, their brain would implode, like mine did a few years ago when I realised that we've just been lied to about pretty much everything. It's a very hard thing to accept. It takes a while to get used to that idea.
Yeah,
So people
well,
don't
like
want to go
you,
down that journey, do they?
yeah,
Sorry.
well, like you, I was brought up in the low fat
Hmm.
environment in terms of that's
Yeah.
the right way to eat. I did sports at a decent level in my youth, so I had dietitians that helped me do the training, and that was all about this mixed, stable diet. If people
Yeah.
now saw what I eat now,
Mm,
they're the ones more likely to have the heart attack, not me, because they believe in
absolutely.
what they've been told.
Yeah.
But evidence is the amount of people I've interviewed and they've turned their lives around by changing to
Mm,
this type of lifestyle tells
absolutely.
me that that's the science I need to see.
Yeah.
That's the science
Yeah.
I need to know.
And also, we
So
tend to watch quite a lot of content as well, don't we? Because we don't really have much support in our real life. We tend to end up watching support on YouTube, for example, just so that to stop ourselves feeling, to keep ourselves sane. And then we hear about story after story after story of healing, and then we think, wow, I've now got hope for my future. I'm not walking around worrying about having this, that, or the other. Well, in theory, in theory.
mhm.
Hopefully, I'm going to prove it. Hopefully, in another 10 years' time, I still won't have any of these problems I'm trying to avoid. If I do, I'll come on and say it. But at the moment, it looks pretty good. My HDL is in range. My triglycerides are in range. My blood pressure is good. My blood sugars are good. The only thing I don't have is the waist measurement, but that's coming now that I'm taking this a whole lot more seriously, basically.
'Cause that's
I'm done with
interesting,
messing.
because as
Sorry.
you know, I've done a number of interviews, both females and males, and
Hmm.
males seem to get the instant success for them is weight just falls off them, as it did with me and the likes of
It
George
does
and
seem
Robert
to
and
be
all that.
that there are a few exceptions, but I've been in this space enough time to know that it's normally the women that struggle, especially the women that have been on countless diets, and then their hormones start to change around, between 40 and 60. Their hormones are all jiggled up, and then that makes it even harder because the body's confused, and then the
But
body wants
my
to do healing before it will lose weight. So
My theory on that is and trying not to upset all the other people with binaries, non-binaries, and all that, but a woman is, one of the primal things for a woman is to have children. So if she's eating healthy,
absolutely.
her body's going to store onto that. not
Yeah.
necessarily fat, but it's going to store that in terms of the reproduction process, because fat goes into the hormone, creates the hormones. Fat helps you with
Absolutely.
the whole spread. So I think that's why
Exactly.
women have a slower, and I think the
Mm.
female body needs to know stores are right before it starts
Yeah.
saying, I don't need
Yeah.
this. This is it.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
mean, it
personal.
can take, for a female, it seems to take between 3 months, and the absolute maximum I've ever heard before someone started losing weight was 3 years. I mean, that is an extreme example.
Yeah, that does
Most
seem quite
people, most people are not that messed up. Normally, you're looking at between, probably, for an average woman of my age who's struggling, you're probably looking at between 4 and 12 months before the body's right. Okay, I'm now fixed. I'm now going to drop the weight, because for our bodies, I think the dropping of the fat, the vanity fat, is the
yeah.
last priority. It wants to heal the liver first. It wants to heal your thyroid first. It's going to get going and healing all those things that you've messed up with low fat dieting, and then sort the weight out. But a lot of people do think we lie. This is what makes me very cross, because I have not lied about my 4 month journey. I have been doing this absolutely strict, without a single deviation, not one cheat taste, not one bit of seed oil, not one bit of sweetener, not one bit of sugar. And I have only lost about 10 pounds of inflammation, no real fat loss yet. And I cannot bear being told that I'm not doing it properly. And no, I'm not having dairy. Before somebody comments, she needs to give up cheese. I'm not eating the cheese. I
Mm.
gave that up on day 4. We're now on day 125. I'm still not having any cheese, and I'm still just waiting for that moment where I get my glory. But I'm not giving up. This is it now. I'm done. I'm done with stopping. I'm done
Okay.
with getting frustrated. I'm just in.
I'm going to pinch that comment you just said, vanity fat. I think that's a great term, because that is a
Yeah.
lot of it. With me, I was one of those stereotypical blokes with a big beer belly, as
Hmm.
such, which meant I had so much fat around my organs that I
That your
had to
body
depend.
prioritized it.
Yeah, exactly. Where I
Yeah.
think with
Yeah.
your body's designed to do different things, because
Hmm.
as you've said in your channel, you've
Absolutely.
skin tags have gone, you've noticed the improvement in overall health with yourself. So,
Yes.
I think you're right to stick with it. And I think you're right to, and that's what I love about your channel. It is what it is. It's the most honest, right down to the knuckle channel. And I think, Sarah, that style is fantastic. And
Yeah.
very honest. So anyone watching this, I highly recommend they go and see your channel. And I'll put a link
Thank you.
there.
Thank you.
So
And I have
no
got more
problem.
confident in my videos. I've looked back at a couple of my very early videos, and they're actually pretty shocking. But I don't want to delete them, because it shows me how far I've come. The ability to keep going, and obviously, the more you
So,
do carnivore, the more your brain fixed quickly. So you're just go 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 all the time.
so the part of your channel is all about you're this forever now. This is
Mhm.
your commitment to you. This is your, you know,
100%.
video diary of you sticking on this. So, what is it that changed in such a way that you stopped yo-yo and you've become this dogged, determined person?
Okay.
What is it?
Okay. Obviously, just quickly tell you that I had a very, very bumpy journey, because I was looking after my mum. I know that I use that as an excuse, but we had such a stressful time with her, and I had to move in with her when she passed away. So, I know that's just making excuses, but there are a lot of women my age that put themselves low on the priority list while they're dealing with everybody else. And I've had to tell my family now, this is my priority. Sometimes they moan at me because I'm the one that's got the steak, and I'm like, listen, guys, I'm now priority. We can't keep letting mummy just, she's got to get well now. You guys are all well, you're all slim. Let mummy have some fun with that. But what was the actual flip for me is that I always said that if I had something wrong with me, that other people would rush down the doctors for. So I had this mole on my back. I mentioned it in Dave's channel. This slightly dodgy, slightly crusty mole on my back. And I thought, well, I've always said, if I get something that is a bit of a concern, I'm going to go carnivore and stay there. And I will never stop. Now, I didn't know when that was going to be. It could have been this year, next year, when in my 50s, in my 60s. There was always going to be a point where the switch went off. And I thought, I'm not going to go to the doctors for this. Now, I know that you may disapprove of that decision. I know that some people would probably say you should have gone anyway. My decision was, I hate the doctors. I don't want them anywhere near me. I am going to sort this out on my own. If it's the wrong decision, I'll live with it, and I'll tell you in my video that it was the wrong decision. As it turns out, 2.5 months into carnivore, the top of the mole just lifted off, just came off. So obviously my body decided it was going to prioritize that. So some people would be really, really cross that they haven't lost weight in 2.5 months. But I was just delighted that my body had decided it was going straight to that mole. The top of it just completely fell off. And now there's just a very faint, I can't even feel it. I actually thought it had completely disappeared, but my husband looked at it and said, no, there's just a very faint light brown mark. Um, Also, back in the summer before making this commitment, I also had quite severe plantar fasciitis in my feet. I just changed my job to one where I was on my feet all the time. And the combination of being obese and eating carbs and being on my feet meant my feet were absolutely killing me. If anyone's ever had plantar fasciitis, you'll know that it's actually agony. So that was annoying me. So I thought to myself, right, I've got this severe pain in my feet, which I think will go away. I've got this mole that I'm worried about. I'm done. I am absolutely in now. I've got those things that other people would worry about, and now it's in, and I'm in, and I promised myself I would stay in. And 4 months later, that hasn't wavered, not once. I've had some hard days, but I have not wavered. I have not had a single gram of sweetener, a single gram of sugar, a single bit of cheese, a single bit of seed oil, no fruits and vegetables at all. I've just done fatty meat, water with the occasional black tea going in and out. It's my weakness. I sometimes have it, then I stop, then I start, then I stop, but it doesn't seem to be halting my healing because, as I mentioned in another channel, I've lost loads of skin tags around my neck. I had 15 skin tags and now I've only got 3. So I know that my body is doing some really great healing, even with the black tea going in and out, which I know I'm not supposed to drink. But we live in the UK and the weather's absolutely diabolical.
There's no
So it
carnivore
probably will.
police, don't worry. No carnivore
Sorry?
police. There are no
No, I
carnivore.
know, but I know there are some people that would say, Sarah, you know it's not doing you any harm. No, I know it's not doing me any harm, but oh, it's a habit. But I also got other health benefits. So as well as the skin tags falling off, losing the plantar fasciitis, losing the top of the mole on my back, I'm also trying to avoid the diseases that my mum had as well, because I don't want to have a hysterectomy or a thyroidectomy. I don't want to have a hip replaced because all those things were absolutely terrible. She had stage 4 cancer. She had a scare where she thought she had bladder cancer and had to have surgery for that. I don't want to have any of those things. She was on medication for everything, and I'm avoiding that really well. I've also completely cleared lifelong psoriasis, gastritis, IBS, flatulence. I mean, my flatulence was so bad on carbs, my husband actually thought that he might wake up dead in the morning. He used to say, wow, your flatulence is bad. I'm going to wake up totally dead in the
I
morning.
did
Okay.
come prepared. I
Oh,
did
no.
come
Oh, you've
prepared.
got the, oh, put that on. Luckily, though, you're safe. There's no
Yeah.
farting happening. It's really
Yeah.
safe to be around me now. My husband wakes up alive every morning. He's happy. I've also reversed pre-diabetes. Now, it did creep back in, and it was around the time that my mum passed away that my blood sugars were coming back up. So I've had to get them back down again. They're now in perfect range. I've reversed insomnia. I have no joint pain anywhere. But most of all, I have hope for the future. I feel as though eating this way, because I've been in the space 10 years, I've probably devoted more hours to researching carnivore than the average GP spent at college. And I'm absolutely adamant that it's eating a lot of fatty meat that's keeping me feeling so alive and well. And I'm not going to wait for the science to come, Carl. I'm going to do it right before it comes because I'm not waiting. No. So that's my
No,
health benefits, really.
no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And it's interesting you said about your sugar levels going up, but you've got to
Mm,
remember that can
mm.
also be stress related. And
Yeah,
if what you're saying you're going
definitely.
through might have
Yeah.
nothing to do with what you're eating at the time, it could be the levels of stress that you're facing.
I
Because
was
stress,
eating quite bad as well, though, because I was comfort eating at the time as well. But
well,
so,
it's all tied in with the stress then, isn't it? So,
yeah.
okay.
And
So,
also in a state of high stress, it's impossible to lose weight. So I've also changed my job so that I'm in a less stress job situation. I've now made another further change to that, in that I mentioned in my video today that I've applied to cut down my hours on a Friday afternoon because I was finding my Friday afternoon stressful. I work in a nursery 4.5 days a week, and on the last half a day, I'm set sail around the school to go and work in other places, and I'm finding that unpleasant. So I'm applying for that, because I will do anything to keep my stress down. I will do anything to stay off medication. I will do whatever it takes to not end up in the same painful state my mum ended up in. That's my biggest why I cannot turn out all the health problems that she had. And she had total faith in the medical, so she didn't want to make any changes. She just wanted the pill. She just wanted the surgery, the injection, the cream, the pill, the surgery. She was never ever going to make any kind of health change. And I want to be the complete opposite. And I want to try and see if I can get a different result. And so far I have done,
Okay.
which
So
makes me happy.
you've mentioned quite a bit of what you've cut out. So what in a week or a few days is your diet? What is it that you are eating so that people that
Mhm.
might be interested can kind of follow that?
Yeah. Well, as I said on Dave's channel, I have been thinking about doing a what I eat in a day, but it tends to vary. But I have started to settle into a little routine now, on a working day. And I'm going to keep doing this at the weekend as well, because it seems to work for me. I've managed to get down to 2 meals a day, which is great. I had to make some changes with my family as well. They had to understand that I need to eat when it's time for me to eat, not when they think I should eat. That was another thing I had to change. But first thing in the morning, I do eat very early in the morning. Some people are probably shocked at how early I eat, because it's 7:15 is my breakfast time, because I don't want to go to school. I work in a school, and I don't want to be hungry all day and risk having treat food going around, especially with the Christmas period coming. So I will eat a huge plate of steak, bacon, and egg for breakfast. And it's the struggle to get that last mouthful in, because I want to get to work absolutely full. And that keeps me going till about 4 p.m., when I will then I then come in and cook some chicken thighs, pork belly, that kind of thing. And then I will eat as much of that as I can and stop eating around 5:30, maybe 6 if there's been a delay on my food. And then I don't eat any more for the rest of the evening. But I've managed to get this really big breakfast down, because, like I just said, we're approaching Christmas season. I work in a school that there's already loads of junk in the staff room, and we're not even in that period yet. So I need to prepare myself. I need to be protected and I feel fantastic all day. By about 2 or 3 p.m., I'm starting to get quite a strong ketone taste in my mouth. So I know that my body is getting there. It's getting there slowly. It's starting to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But I love that it's doing the healing, really. I shouldn't complain about the weight, because I do feel that healing is happening, and I should be celebrating my body for getting on with that important stuff. Because if my goal is to not end up like my mum, I should be more interested in, you know, the thyroid, the hormones, because that's it's more important to be healthy. And the older you get, the more of a concern that is.
Yeah, but naturally, yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's really. So you say you have no dairy, but do you have butter and eggs, or do you avoid them
Oh,
as well?
sometimes I have butter and sometimes I don't, because I'm not used to having dairy. I keep trying to introduce it, but I keep feeling like, because I haven't had it for 4 months, it feels it feels weird to me now to have it. So there has been a couple of mornings when I've put butter on there, a bit sort of BBBE style, but my body's so used to not having butter, it doesn't seem that excited about having it. So I think moving forwards, the butter's going to go again. It keeps coming in for a little bit and then going back out again. But the cream and the milk and the cheese is, not been. I've had that for 4 months, but sometimes the butter sneaks in, and then I think, got a sort of weird taste in my mouth, a weird taste in my throat, bit of catarrh feeling, and then I don't have it again. It
Okay.
keeps coming and going.
No, that's interesting because you just mentioned it, BBBE. That's my
Mm,
staple. That's like
yeah,
this morning, the first morning in this week, I actually felt hungry when I got up, so I literally
yeah,
had some bacon and eggs, and that's basically what I
yeah,
had, and I haven't
yeah,
eaten since, and I probably won't eat the rest of the day because I've lost that hunger feeling. I'll wait for my body to tell me you got to
yeah,
eat again. So
yeah.
do you consume plenty of water?
Not excessively, because I don't
Right.
think we need to excessively consume water. I do tend to go with a eat to hunger, drink to thirst type thing. And also with my job, I'm quite busy, so it's a good job I'm not panicking about the water thing, because I think there's a lot of myths out there that you should just literally just drown yourself in water every day. And I think just go
That
with
can
your
be
thirst, and it
dangerous.
seems to work. It's very dangerous. And if you do drink excessive amounts of water, you've then got to replenish the electrolytes. So I find that during the day, I salt my food lightly, I drink to thirst, and I feel fantastic. I think if I upped my water excessively, I'd then be flushing out my electrolytes and then feeling dizzy. When I have to keep getting up off the floor in my job. I'm constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. I think I've got to make sure that I'm balancing my salt to water okay, so that I'm not don't suddenly stand up and then pass out, because my people that I work with already think I'm crazy the way I eat. I don't want them to see me faint, because they'll be thinking, oh, this carnivore diet's not safe. She's just passed out on the floor. So I am careful to make sure that I don't oversalt or undersalt or overdrink or underdrink. Just keep it
And
a
do you
sensible.
take any supplements of any sort, electrolytes or anything like that, or are you doing it purely from what you're
Um,
getting from food and the salt?
for the first 30 days, I did actually get the unflavored element, the one that's completely unflavored without the maltodextrin in it. That
Right.
was basically because I I wanted to feel like one of the big boys, because I wanted to feel like one of the carnivores, and I thought if I get those, I'm going to really feel like a carnivore. But I knew I wasn't going to do it beyond 30 days because it's prohibitively expensive when you can just get some really decent rock salt and it would do. I do sometimes use a hunter and gather freeze-dried lamb supplement. It's got lamb kidney, lamb heart, something in it. But that is also incredibly expensive. And if I'm going to cut down my hours at work,
Mm.
I need to not be doing that, because a jar of those lamb things is something like £50. And if I'm going to be cutting down my hours by two a week, I need to be making some changes, and I probably don't need those supplements as long as I get my beef in every day, and some of it is rare and a bit raw. I'm going to do a bit more raw though, because
I was
you
gonna
and
ask
George have
you.
inspired me to do raw. I keep I keep wanting to go and eat raw, but we're just so brainwashed into thinking it's not safe. In the job that I do, you get so much health and nutrition training, and oh, don't eat raw meat. It's just so dangerous. And I think it is a mental thing, because I'd love to do it. I think I
Well,
need someone
interest
sitting right next to me doing it. I think I want someone to be sitting next to me. Maybe you should come around to my house, sit next to me, eat it. And if I see you doing it, I'm going to be like, yes, he's alive. Let's copy Carl and do that. But there's no one in my house that's going to do that. They're just going to think I'm crazy. So I'm just
well,
going to just keep
interesting
imagining
enough,
doing it.
the Dutch carnivore has reached out to me. So raw is something you might be tempted to try then.
I keep thinking about it. I mean, we do feed our cat raw, and I do buy the some stewing steak that she eats. She eats all kinds of animal parts. But sometimes if the beef I've bought her looks particularly fresh, I have just popped a bit in my mouth. So obviously the temptation's there, the thought is there, but I haven't gone
Okay.
past just chucking one little bit in my mouth. And that was quite a while ago, so I know that my meat needs to be a lot rarer, and I think it will as time goes on. It's a natural progression for most carnivores to get raw to more
Indeed.
rare. So yeah, so it's on the horizon.
So obviously these are personal opinions, these are our own personal experiences. But if
Yeah.
anyone watching this was interested, give us a couple of tips that you would consider for them, apart from doing their own research, checking their health, all the various business pieces that we'll say. Is there anything you would say, think about, or do, or consider if they're likely to try this lifestyle?
As Kerry Mann from Homestead House says, just do your own research. Don't take our word from it. Check out Ken Berry. He was a doctor for a couple of decades. If you only trust doctors, trust him. He was a family physician, and he then realized he wasn't helping people. So go and check out his videos. His one on skin tags alone has 7 million hits on it. But it's the comments underneath you want to be reading. And if you then decide you want to go for it, then you've got to decide whether you're just going to go straight in or whether you're going to taper in more gradually. These days, when I have had to do a restart, I've just gone straight in and I'm fine. My body's quite used to it and it adjusts pretty quickly. And also hmm, just, I don't know. What would you say, Carl? I'm trying to think of what to say
I,
next.
well,
I've stumbled on my
yeah,
words there now.
no, no, no problem. For me, you're right. Research, make informed
Yeah.
decisions by doing
Yeah.
your own research, but then
Yeah.
give it a go. No one is going to die
Yeah.
trying it 30 days.
No.
I found that
30
those
days.
first 30 days, it was
Mm,
amazing, the results, and I then
yeah,
stuck with it and stuck with it ever since.
yeah. Anyone could do anything for 30 days. But then there's a lot of people that struggle to get to 30 days, which I think one of my that's why I think my channel is going to be appealing, because people have seen me struggle and they've heard about my struggle, and now they've seen me get to 125 days without stopping, and now they're looking at me saying, how did you do that? But I'm never going to forget the struggle. And so I hope people will come to my channel, because I like to talk about what can you do for 30 days, what can you do for 60 days, and if I can do it. I don't say if I can do it anyone can do it, but I say if I can do it, everyone can give it a go. Give it a go for 10 days. But don't take any notice of the stupid mainstream media when they say, oh, the carnivore diet killed me on day 3. You are going to feel a little bit crappy for the first couple of days, but if you can get past that, the benefits are absolutely endless. And the things that you can fix on your body, it never fails to amaze me that I can switch health problems on and off. This is the thing that amazes. I've gone off on one now, haven't I? I've gone off
No,
on a tangent now. What amazes me is that I can switch health problems on and off. I can switch my flatulence on and off. I can switch my psoriasis on and off. I can switch my gastritis, my joint pain. I can make them turn up, and then I can make them magically go away. Please listen to the people. If you are just considering this, please just watch as much content as possible and hear what people have healed, and the fantastic healing stories. I was actually going to talk to you about Maggie as well. You know, the rancher. So
yep,
I know that
fantastic 83-year-old rancher.
um, because we didn't really talk about her in my day video, but I was going to talk about her. And another thing that makes me upset is that when pictures of her get spread on feces book, as I call it, people are so negative. They're like, this is fake. This is a fake story. And I just think because people are so used to seeing people in their 80s just absolutely broken down and just, you know, all I want to say is, just we've seen people just look and feel 20, I feel 20, 30 years younger than myself. And I'm sure you do, Carl.
Yeah, definitely.
And they see this picture of her and everyone's laughing and there's laughing emojis and it's so disrespectful. She's done the right things and people are laughing at her. And I just think that is so disrespectful, because I feel like a teenager when I do this. I look in the mirror and I see something different, but I feel like a teenager. And I've heard everyone say that. So
Def Well, I competed at judo at a decent level, and I'm fitter and more energetic now at 58 than I
mm,
was when I was
yeah,
18. And I'm
yeah,
not just saying that, that's fact.
no, yeah.
Um,
And my
and I
body
think a
seems
lot
to
of
work better than younger girls, younger people,
yeah.
than me as well. Yeah.
See, a lot of these people that are critical, like you've mentioned about poor old Maggie, etc., I'm not going to say poor old Maggie because she's phenomenal. She's absolutely
She is
amazing.
amazing. If I look anything
Yeah,
like her when I get to her age, I'm going to be delighted.
yeah, absolutely. Same here. Absolutely same here. I think it's because they're trying to justify their lifestyle by knocking someone
Yeah,
else down.
yeah.
Um, if they've
They don't.
tried it
People
and it
don't
didn't
like
work,
us doing this.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
If they've tried and it's not worked for them, then so be it. But it's easier
Yeah,
to criticize from a distance and not have tried it. And that's what
absolutely.
I
Until
ask.
you've
Go
done
for it.
60 days carnivore, I think you shouldn't really be criticizing it. I
Yeah.
think you really need to do. It's like I've got someone that I follow called Daphne Reloaded, and she was a vegan for a long time. And she always says, do I think you should do vegan? Yeah, I do. Because once you've done it, then you'll know what it
Mm.
feels like to be vegan for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days until you've done it. And I would encourage you, go and do it. And then you can come back and say, yeah, actually, that really wasn't right for me. But with carnivore, the same. Do it for 30 days so you can feel how good you can feel. And I can't believe how I feel. It's amazing.
Well,
And now I've got to say 125. I am not going back. I feel too good. And I'm not going back to that desperate state that I was in. Oh, no. I could talk for hours. There's not enough time. We'll have to do another one of these because I could actually go on
we
forever.
definitely will, my dear. We definitely will. So
I
before we
can't wait
wrap
to
up,
talk to you when I get to maybe I will do it again when I get to 6, 7, 8 months, something like that, and I can let you know
you're,
how the healing's
you're
going,
more
and because there's so much I could say.
you're more than welcome, and I think we will put that in the diary to do. So before we
Yeah.
wrap up, is there any final points or comments you want to make before we finish, or have you covered everything you wanted to cover?
I could go on forever, Carl. You could get me started. I could go on forever. I would so encourage people to, and if you're struggling, come to one of these non-intimidating channels. There's loads of non-intimidating channels. Come and see Carl, come and see me. And we're not going to be the carnivore police. We're not going to judge you. Our stories are very down to earth. Just take a leap and just do that 30 days. But I could talk so much about when I was a slimming consultant, and I could go on, but
I
let's do
recommend
another.
people watch that
Sorry,
video of Confessions of a Slimming Consultant. That was a real.
yeah, it didn't really get many hits, but I think it's because I was only just. It was a brand new channel. Maybe if I rerun it again, and not
Well,
copy it, just
if I find it, I'll put a link to it on this one, so anyone from here can
yeah.
hyperlink,
I
and
think
then
I
they.
need to put a link to it on mine on the more, because I think. Oh, and I hear people rejoining these clubs, rejoining them, and like we said, it's just a business model. I think when they very first started, the owner of SW, I think she had good intentions. She seemed to have good intentions when she was talking about it, but I think she's now just enjoying the business model of people just quitting and restarting and quitting and restarting, and they bring out a new variation of low fat misery every few years to get people excited again. But the only plan that ever really worked for them was the red plan, the original plan.
Right.
That actually did work because it was very meat based, low fat meat, by the way. But the only plan that ever got any results from people was the original plan and that was very meat, that was very protein centered. But and now they've brought in this mixed thing that's just basically the same as WW, and people are not losing weight on it. And I had people just not losing weight in my class, which is why I gave it up, because I wasn't helping anyone. So yeah,
So
but I could go on about that forever.
do you think
Sorry,
there's a space for a carnivore version?
I don't think people would sign up to it because everyone is just so convinced that red meat is going to kill them. We just wouldn't get the numbers.
But
And
as you
also,
well know, I think changes are coming with Donald Trump. This has nothing to do with politics, but with Donald Trump
yeah,
appointing Robert F.
yeah,
Kennedy, Robert F.
yeah,
Kennedy. It's interesting. The media is all attacking him because of his
yes,
anti-vax side of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
What he's
yeah,
actually talking about is
yeah,
the ultra processed foods have got to change, the chemicals and the
mm,
toxins that are
mm,
going into food, and the fact that a lot of the research is sponsored by these people with conflicts of
mm,
interest. He is going to smash that apart as long as he's not
yeah.
bumped off. That's my personal concern.
Well, this is what's one of my concerns. And also, the mainstream media are going to just smear it so much that the people that actually need to hear the message just won't hear it. It'll end up being people like you and me, Carl, that
Mm.
hear the updates and the messages. If I go in the staff room next week and talk about what they're up to, I guarantee you, not one person in there would have heard anything about these ultra processed foods. They won't have heard anything about the seed oils and the health. This is what this is I try not to get too over. I like to manage my expectations as much as possible. I hope I I really want something to happen out of all this, but I'll manage my expectations and keep making videos. I think we don't, I think what you just said is true, but I think we need to keep our foot on the accelerator of
Oh,
our
without
channels.
doubt.
What we don't want to do is think, right, they're sorting it out now. We can all just sit back and watch them sort it out. I still think we need this YouTube online presence to keep pushing forwards, because the worst thing we can do now is sit back and say, well, these people they've appointed are going to sort it all out for us. We can all just have a nice holiday now and not talk about it anymore. And I'm not going to sit back and hope
Well,
that they're going to fix everything.
it's like this crazy notion of our current government talking about giving out the obesity injection. So rather than getting
Oh my
people
gosh, don't.
lifestyle,
Oh,
they're trying to use drugs, which there's £1,500 an injection. That, and they're saying that the NHS has got no money, and I'm like, but if you
oh my
educate,
gosh.
try a different lifestyle, you can. I mean, look at George. George reversed type 2 diabetes,
Yep.
and I've got a dozen people that I've interviewed so far that
Hmm.
have all done similar, or got round cancers and all the various bits. For fuck's sake,
Yeah.
people, what you eat is what you are.
Yeah. But what breaks me is the censorship and the shadow banning is so bad that it's only us that ever hear about it. And we have found ourselves in a little bit of an echo chamber. I mean, we are spreading out, but this is the thing. This is why I've got to get my weight off now, because people are not interested in me. I could have 100 health benefits. You know, I've got a list here of 101 reasons to do carnivore, right? But if my weight is still on, people are not asking the questions that they should be asking. And I am sick and tired of recommending carnivore and people just looking at me with glazed eyes. If I've lost all my weight, they're going to be a lot more interested and they're going to be asking questions. And then I'll be able to go in with, I did the carnivore diet. This happened to me. Look up Dr. Ken Berry and please go and do. But this drug, this weight loss drug that they're pushing, I know someone that's doing it, and she didn't want to tell me she was doing it because she said, I didn't think you would approve, so I didn't tell you. And I thought, inside my head, I was thinking, God damn right, I don't approve.
But it's not going to stop.
She's 20 years younger than me, and I think she could probably do so well on keto. And I've told her about it so many times and she doesn't want to change anything. So they just go for the injection. And I think, oh gosh, please look into the side effects and the potential issues that are coming. Yes, I don't approve, but I'm going to back you up because you're my friend.
By giving her an injection, it's not going to change the habits that got her to the place that she needed the injection with in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates.
And from what I've heard, going to give her even more problems in the future. Because at some point she's going to lose enough weight to get pregnant, and then she's going to want to stop that medication because she won't want to take it while she's pregnant, and she will absolutely, the amount of pounds she'll put on stopping that medication, and then as soon as the baby's born, oh, I'll get back onto that medication again. That worked. And now lifelong customers. So you've got these lifelong customers at slimming clubs, and now you've got lifelong customers for these drugs. Oh,
The human
drives
race,
me crackers.
the human race has survived for God knows how many millenniums without
that
introduction of drugs.
Yeah.
So does that not tell you something?
Yeah, and without slimming clubs as well. The cavemen weren't sitting around counting their points and counting their steps on their. Oh, don't get me started. Sorry, I could talk for hours. You know I could. We'll have to schedule another one in so I can talk about all the things I forgot to talk to you about.
Absolutely, no problem. Sarah, you've been an absolute star. Thank you very much.
Oh, I hope that something came out all right.
Honestly, there's minimal editing I'm going to need to do, so I better rush this out. If I don't get it out today, it will be out on Sunday for people to view. So it'll be good. So thank you very much.
Okay.
And all
Thank
I
you
ask
so
of
much.
people, if you've enjoyed the content, people, please subscribe, because if people subscribe to channels like ours, it gets us a bigger voice to get the message out there. So thank you, everyone. Cheerio.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye, Carl. Bye.